Okay, looks like we are live. So the question we have today for you guys is, does life change for you? Are big changes on the horizon? And if so, what do we do about those? There's one thing that we know, change is consistent. It's always happening. And that's kind of how that goes. So I'm Jared Jarvis. I'm here today with Leanne Mason. And for today's Wednesday Wellness, we thought with so many life changes that we've both got going on, Leanne, I know that you've got a lot of life changes going on. Renee does as well. I know I certainly do. What do we do? How do we deal with some of these life changes that come about every single day?
Yeah, we were talking about it before we went live as for me, the realization of my youngest is a junior in high school and he has, a few months left of his junior year. Then he will be a senior and he has big plans for when he leaves. And my oldest, when she graduated high school, she went away for college and life changed then. Our middle child stayed home and is doing college from home. So we're in a unique life situation. We have our oldest who's married, our middle who is home doing college still, and our
Yeah.
son who plans on leaving and doing a service mission as soon as he's done with high school. And I thought my life has revolved around our kids for the last 24 plus years, right? My oldest is 24.
Right.
What do I do with myself and my time? And then all the emotions started coming up, right? But these life changes aren't just for us, they are life changes for our kids. So, how do we prepare ourselves to support the emotions that are happening? Now, I'm going to remind you guys, we are not doctors. We cannot diagnose or treat. We are educators. And one of the things that I love is discussing how essential oils can support us emotionally and physically and spiritually and all the things, right? So, Jared, when life is in, let's say, chaos, because a lot of change creates chaos, right? What's your go to for supporting those chaotic moments or those anxious feelings or those kinds of things?
Well, for me, I'm a very visual person, and so as I contemplate this idea of chaos and change and things that are going on, I like to think of it kind of a little bit like a cyclone. It can kind of upend and tear everything apart as it's spinning everything, and sometimes things don't go back the way that we expect them to. And in our bodies, we see that as well. Sometimes, if you think about it, and if you've had a conversation with somebody where you're talking about somebody just feels like they're in a spiral, that they're, and it's often referred to as a downward spiral, or, we don't often think as an upward spiral, things are going so good, uh, but there's spirals and there's changes. And how do we make a change that will restore some balance? How do we make some changes that are going to help with that? And we found that, and science is showing that one of the fastest ways that we can do that is through the amygdala. Now, the fastest way we get to the amygdala, which is your emotional center, is through your olfactory senses. And so when you are breathing in essential oils, just through the process of aromatherapy, whether it's putting it in a diffuser, whether it's wearing it, I put a little bit of wild orange in my hair. I love it. I'll put oils on my hands, rub my hands together, deep breaths, breathing that in, and through the olfactory senses goes directly right up to to that olfactory bulb, and from there it just creates a cascade of therapeutic benefits that are remarkable. Yeah, so that's just a little bit about the mechanics of how it works. But what are my go-tos? Well, citrus oils tend to be some of those. I love Citrus Bliss. I love the Adaptive Blend. That's another one that I use. And, with my wife, sometimes she gets to where, life is lifing. And if she is feeling like, oh, she just gets in that moment where she can't breathe, she puts on a little bit of adaptive. She puts it on her wrists, rubs her wrists together, breathes that in. And it's interesting to see her just kind of go from, this overwhelm to, and you see her actually start to breathe again. You see her start to be able to release. And so I love being able to use those blends. Peppermint is another one of my go-tos, or the super mint. Mints tend to be uplifting, energizing. They also work as vasodilators, so they help open things up, help to, open up the airways, help to oxygenate the body. There's so many things that we could do that just create subtle changes in the body and the body chemistry that takes that spiral that's going on and says, calm, make a
Yes.
difference. And so that's my favorite way to use them, and a couple of my favorite oils to do that with.
Right. So I tend to go to the grounding and the stabilizing oils that generally come from our trees, right?
Hmm.
Frankincense is always, we talk about, when in doubt, use frankincense, right? Because it encourages the breathing and clarity of emotions. Um, the vetiver is a root, right? And it helps us um, dig deep and calm those exhaustion and the restlessness. Our cedar wood, I love the smell of cedar wood. Absolutely love it. And it gives security and strength. And I love that. But again, then our citrus oils. So for me, pairing a tree with a citrus gives us the uplift as well as the grounded, rooted, so that we're not like go from cycling to woo. But some of the other things when life is lifing is those oils that help you to actually feel and release those emotions, right? Roman chamomile helps stabilize overall overwhelm. So in that cyclone, you might be feeling some overwhelm. And so putting a little bit of Roman chamomile or making a Roman chamomile tea can support that chaos, for lack of a better word, right? In some cases, we might need to feel more empowered or more courage. And that can be done with more of the spices, like our ginger, black pepper, and cardamom. And so just finding oils that maybe support whatever underlying emotion might be happening in the chaos, right? So this is a perfect segue into what our class is next Thursday. We are going to be focusing on emotions and that from blah to bliss, right? The winter, getting less sun. Now, Jared, you're in Arizona, you're probably getting sun. But for the rest of us, the sun is a little bit sparse, and that can cause our emotions to downgrade or deregulate. So, citrus oils are so important, especially in these winter months when we're getting affected by the lack of the sun, right? So as we get ready to wrap this up, I will drop the link to our classes in the chat so you guys can um, register for upcoming classes. Jared, what are some of your final thoughts about supporting life changes?
You know what? I think a little bit about kites. I don't know if anybody's flown a kite lately, and I know for me it's been a really long time. But a kite only flies so well when it has a string attached to support it. And it's not that it's holding it up there, it's actually tethering it. And sometimes we all need those tethers. We all need those things that help us to stay grounded, that help us to stay connected. And I love that we have a community where we strive to stay connected. And that's one of the other things that we love being able to do and bring. here, and the reason that we continue to consistently do these Wellness Wednesdays is so that people have a connection point. So they know that we are here to support them. And we're going to continue to do that because it's what we love. And we love this community that we're building. And so anytime that you guys have something that you just need to reach out for, if you have a question about something, we encourage you to reach out to one of us. Talk to us about the things that you're needing. Talk to us about the things that you would like to learn. If there's a topic that you are interested in, and we will be glad to be preparing and bringing that information to our community. Likelihood is if it's something that's coming up for you, there's a good chance it's coming up for other people. And so let's share those thoughts. Let's share those ideas that are going to build and make this community even stronger.
But I love that. And one tip and trick that you can do is just breathe. Whether it's putting your hands over your heart and just breathing. If you have a bottle close, crack the bottle open and give yourself that support. And Ronay always says fear and excitement are the same thing in your body. So when life is chaotic, just like I'm so excited to see what's going to happen. So as life starts changing, support yourself emotionally and physically with aromatherapy because it makes a huge difference. So thanks for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you in class and we'll see you next Wednesday.